I'm forensic profiler and psychiatrist Andrew Hodges. In my job, I read between the lines. I read people's stories that they tell between the lines, and then I basically report on it. That's what I do. Today, I want to tell you about a story that Barack Obama has told America, told us, and applying my training, I'm going to tell you that story. This is what led to my book, The Obama Confession, because Obama has confessed and wants to be free of a lot of things, confessed to America his secret story. It's a scary story. If you recall, Denise D'Souza's film, 2016, was a frightening story to many, based on his book, The Roots of Obama's Rage. Now, he correctly identified that Obama was angry. There was much more to the story. D'Souza claimed to work, or he did work, from Obama's words. However, he worked from his surface words. He didn't read words in a deeper way, which I will explain, and he didn't know how to read past Obama's denial. It's important to understand denial. We have two parts of the mind, the 10% conscious mind, the 90% other part of our mind. But let me tell you a good example of denial that'll help us get oriented. When I was a medical intern, I had to pronounce a child deceased who died during the night, expectedly from a long, hard, difficult, end-of-the-line course of chronic leukemia. It was a no code. I thought the parents were ready to hear the story of his passing away. I was called into the family room. I looked at the mother and father and I said, "I'm sorry to tell you, Johnny just passed away." Well, the mother looked at me and said, "Doctor, are you going to give him something for his cough?" I thought, well, passed away, passed over her. I said, "Well, I'm sorry, but Johnny just died." "Doctor, are you going to give him something for his cough?" And I learned at that point the power of denial. At that point, she could not handle this loss. Now, Barack Obama will tell us about a loss, a near-death loss of his own life that he couldn't handle, and it will come into play in a major way. And he will take us past his denial. The question is how do we see past denial, which everybody needs to see. We have a new way of seeing past it because we've learned something new about the mind. Now think of Malcolm Gladwell's bestseller, Blink, 2005, based on the idea that the unconscious mind, through his reporting and researchers that he reported on, had demonstrated a phenomenal ability, and he called it the dazzling new unconscious, to quick read incidents in the blink of an eye. And he told the story of a fire chief, as an example, who walks in a room, his men are putting out a fire, and all of a sudden he has instincts. Get out of the room. Didn't know why, cleared the room. 30 seconds later, the floor falls in, and he saved their lives. It took him a long time to come to understand what was behind those instincts, what he was picking up on. But Gladwell put on the table, unquestionably, a quick read, brilliant, unconscious mind that he thought worked only on instinct. However, our earlier work in clinical research as a psychiatrist in therapy showed us that indeed patients were quick reading themselves, and guess what? They were quick speaking. How did they speak to themselves? In a code. Now let's think briefly of a code. How people do coded communication. We do it all the time. Parents will communicate code in front of their kids. If they were planning a vacation or thinking about it, they may talk about trips that somebody else is taking, just as a way to not let their kids understand they're thinking about a trip. So parents talk in code all the time. Patients do that. And that's how their superintelligence, their quick read superintelligence speaks. And we've discovered this brilliant mind that I call the superintelligence. Patients come in, as an example, a patient comes in, consciously says, "I'm through with therapy. Thank you, you've helped me. I want to stop." The unconscious mind, if it's not time to stop, will immediately say, "No, you've got unfinished business," and pattern 3 or 4 stories casually of unfinished business, such as my husband isn't through the project on the garage. Unfinished business will come into Barack Obama's story in a significant way, by the way. He has major unfinished business. Another story from therapy, a patient comes in and says, "I want to change my appointment time." Well, the superintelligence quick reads, you need stability a lot more than you need flexibility, and they'll give 3 or 4 stories of keep stability because a person needs to learn to live within commitments. So out of this, we learned that also there was this deeper moral compass, this wiser moral compass. So we have two moral compasses, a conscious moral compass, a second opinion, deeper moral compass that sees what's best for us and guides us in healthy ways. This moral compass matches America's founders' moral compass, which says we're guided by basic laws of human nature which have to do with stability, that's life, give me a stable life, and then give me freedom and freedom of expression to pursue happiness. Those are the laws, and we can't change those laws. And our culture's made a mistake thinking we can consciously change laws any way we want to. There's a deeper moral compass that says we can't. Well, I thought this would really help us solve our cultural values conflicts, because deep down we all have this second opinion moral compass. We all agree on the basic rules of life. And the politically correct movement has made some major errors. The deeper moral compass tries to correct that. So I sent a copy of my book, The Deeper Intelligence, to Richard Halverson, who was then chaplain of the United States Senate, one of the most influential men in America. He saw the importance of this breakthrough knowledge, and he immediately took the information to President Clinton, asked me to sign a book to inscribe to Clinton, and I did, and sent it to him and several senators. But Halverson saw how healing it would be if we all agreed deep down on the basic fundamental moral compass rules of life. He said God intended this knowledge for this moment in time. Well, fast forward, I got into forensic profiling, saw that guilty suspects did the same thing in their mind. Consciously, they tried to cover up their superintelligence, between the lines, told stories, and they confessed. So I saw that it worked in that way. While I was on a television show explaining a forensic case and how there was a confession between the lines, the host asked me about Bill Clinton at that time. Now I'm back to President Clinton. Asked me, could Bill Clinton be quick reading himself, his unconscious mind, his superintelligence, reading his deeper motives, deeper situation in the Lewinsky case. So I found something that Clinton wrote himself, verbatim communication. He stayed up all night writing a confession to America. And in the story that he told, he referenced a poem on winter, and he told how birds were flying south during winter, leaves were falling, the squirrels were saving their food. If you looked at it, Clinton was really telling us about his deep pain of winter inside when he lost his father before he was born. His mother had to separate from him to go get an education. Bill Clinton carries a deep pain of abandonment, so he's always got to protect himself. Long story short, I saw that presidents were reading themselves unconsciously and telling America so that we would understand them and so they would understand themselves. Now, to Barack Obama, I looked at 5 communications, a book he wrote, four communications that he wrote himself straight from his mind or vetted cleared with a speech writer, two open letters to his daughters, Father's Day speech, which he wrote, and his inauguration speech, which he vetted. And I looked at those speeches, and his superintelligence told us his deeper story. And it's a powerful story. And what he does to prepare us for the story is he tells us 3 things. He first says the superintelligence exists. How does he tell us that? He portrays images of breakthroughs to new knowledge, brilliant new technologies that are going to advance America. Then he talks about new digital lines of communication. All of these are basically telling us, look, this superintelligence exists. He's doing this unconsciously. That's what the superintelligence does, is it communicates to us that it exists. He says, look, use this new way. Let's transform education. Second thing he does is tell us that the education will determine the future of America. He's meaning, if you don't understand what my superintelligence is telling you, you will not understand me and the threat I am to America. There's a warning in there. It will determine America's future. The third thing he tells us is it's hard work. And it is hard work to stop and think about encoded communication, but we all have that brilliant mind. We're all capable of it. And so he tells us, look, get your butts back to school. Don't just stop at high school graduation. Go to college if you have to. Go to grad school. He's meaning work hard at understanding his deeper messages. Obama's story in the end, D'Souza had it right. It's a story about anger, but it's also a story about first being wounded. The greater your wound, the greater your anger, the greater your danger, the greater your power. That's what's going to be Obama's story. We will see that unfold as he takes us through his story of unfinished business.